that mauri, that part of me that glues my wairua to my tinana, was unwinding. Didn't have any direction. I felt quite lost. The feeling that gave me was just the demon lover. That buzz was my primary relationship then, and not knowing that how lethal that could be. But I only really had a very short journey with drugs. I first went to treatment in 1989. This profound fundamental shift took place, that it meant that I was someone on the wounded healer journey. And, I feel very blessed to, in the words of our kaumātua, who knew nothing about motivational interviewer. I asked him how he saw MI and tikanga, and his words are really profound. He said, well, tikanga has its own whakapapa and has its own mana. I'm sure motivational interviewing has its own whakapapa and has its own mana, and just allow each to sit in their own mana.
My name is Nicole Young, and this is the Rock Your Bottom podcast. Hi guys, just a quick PSA. I just wanted to jump on and say a massive thank you so far for all of the love and the support. Please, if you are enjoying the content, make sure you like, comment, share, subscribe. Yes, I'm talking to you. To keep this going, it needs your support. If the love keeps coming, I promise to keep bringing some incredible stories to your screens. I hope you enjoy this next episode. T, welcome to the Rock Your Bottom podcast, my friend.
Thank you.
It's a pleasure to be here. Lovely to have you sitting down with me today, and I cannot thank you enough actually for taking some time out of your very special time, I understand, to come and share a little bit of your experience with the Rock Your Bottom listeners.
Look, I'm just rapt to be asked, and I love the vision that you have for collecting people's stories, and if stories inspire as other people's stories have inspired me. So if it does that, I'm rapt.
Thank you, my friend. Hey, I would honestly just love to start off this episode by you just highlighting a little bit about yourself, who you are and where you come from.
Okay. Well, I'm going to introduce myself then as my whakapapa would.
100%.
So, nō heo, ki te tā tōku whaia, ngangara te huki te maunga, waihua te awa, ka hanguna te iwi, kura heka kawa te hapū, waihua te marae, ki tēnei taha hoki, ki ngā maunga o te whenua o Koti Mana, ki raro o te Corden Tartan me Clan McGregor, ki te taha tōku mātua, no te whenua o Tiamana ia, ahakoa no te whenua o Tiamana, I tupuaki ai ia I Uawa, I Tolaga Bay, I tupuaki ai au, I Tūranganui a Kiwa, I Gizzy as the Shizzy, ko Tipene tōku ingoa. So my mum comes from a little place called Waihua on the east coast. I knew nothing of my genealogy until maybe 25 years ago on that side, when mum took a journey back and connected me to that, and it's been a profound remembering of who I am. Probably equally, equally as important as my recovery journey, this journey has been about sort of identity. And also from the Highlands of Scotland, Corden Tartan, Clan McGregor, I'm a Highlander. And my dad's from Germany, a little place called Baden-Baden in the south of Germany, but he grew up, and his parents and great-grandparents and great-grandparents grew up in Tolaga Bay. And I grew up in Gisborne. So my name's Tipene, although I was born Stephen. It was on a te reo course in 95. These kuia just called me Tipene. I thought that's different, and it's just stuck. And eventually I'll claim the name if I want to really make my name a tūturu Māori name. At some point I'll change my name to Waihua, which is the name of the river that I come from. And when the time's right, that'll happen.
Oh, incredible. Yeah. Hey, I bring people onto this podcast to share a little bit of their journey through addiction. Sure. I would love to know how clean and sober you are today, and what your substance of choice was.
Sure. So my substance of choice was cannabis. I first went to treatment in 1989, had a very profound sort of experience. My mum had booted me out. She had actually said to me son, I know there's nothing I can do for you, but you can't live here. And if that means that if I get a phone call saying that you're dead, that's how it has to be, but you can't live here. And so she let me go. And a month later, sitting in a bed sit, this woman comes out and 12 steps to me, basically says, look, she could see I was a train wreck, and she just said, look, there's a woman around the corner who's been 8 years clean from heroin, and her door's open to you 24/7. Hope you don't mind that I've had a talk with you. And everything in that moment, as soon as she said that, something inside me profoundly and very deeply shifted. I knew exactly that I needed to see this woman. All desire to use drugs had left. This profound fundamental shift took place. And even today, that's 36 years ago, it's still as strong today, that feeling, as it was in 1989. And so, yeah, cannabis was a drug of choice, went to treatment, a place called Aspel House, came back, eventually moved to Auckland and studied and went overseas. And while overseas, and I'd stopped going to meetings. You know, a friend of mine and I started a Narcotics Anonymous group in Gisborne. There was just two of us for a year. We sort of kept each other clean just by that commitment to maybe someone else will turn up. And they eventually did. However, when I moved to Auckland, I can't tell you to this day why something so important to me, and 4 years of recovery, I came to Auckland, I just didn't go to meetings. I started studying and I just left the meetings. 4.5 years later, traveling overseas, all of those ducks line up of having a friend who I'd never got stoned with, who was like a brother to me. We were, traveling the dream around the west coast of the United States. And this thought crossing the Mojave Desert was, I've never got stoned with you. And in that moment, I made this decision and said to him, Mike, I'm going to get stoned with you when we get to Oregon. And felt so excited at the prospect of getting stoned. No memory at all of where I was on that day. That woman had said to me, there's a woman who's 8 years clean from heroin around the road, and her door's open to you. And so, I picked up for 6 months and came back to New Zealand. And it's been 27 years now since that. And it still took a long time to come back to meetings. I came back to stop using in 98. I came back to the rooms in 2006 through my boy's mum. And she was also in the rooms, and she's about 30 years sober now. And it was traveling with her and our kids overseas that I got the opportunity to go to a little place called Aotearoa in California. And the weekend we turned up there was an AA camp. And so we just got invited along, and that was my introduction back into the room. So I'm really grateful to AA and grateful to NA. They've both been sort of an important part of my journey. One of many things that have been important. And I think I go there because I love the people. They've been such, such a family. And, you get to go anywhere in the world, and you've got this instant connection with people based on, a story of being wounded and yet the salvation, and that comes through recovery also. So, so that's a long-winded answer of saying 27 years probably. But, so really stoked today to I think what buzzes me out about being in recovery is I don't need anything, any substance to change, to alter the way I feel. I can move myself from sadness to happiness, from powerlessness to empowered on my own without any chemical assistance whatsoever. And for some reason, that buzzes me out hugely. Yeah.
Thank you for that. 27 years is absolutely remarkable. And I know that you have been able to accomplish so much within those 27 years. And I can't wait to dive into how you actually got to 27 years as well. Where did your addiction start? Take me back to where it all began.
Okay. I would say I had gone to, when I left school, I'd gone to university with my cousin, and it was like one of those boys' dreams of off to university. Anyway, about 3 weeks after getting there, he comes back to Gisborne because he was missing his girlfriend, and I felt really abandoned. Anyway, I failed that year, just hugely failed that year, and came back to Gisborne and got a job as a maize detailer, pulling the tops of maize plants out.
Yeah.
And I found a cannabis plant, and people were just so stoked that I'd found this, and so they rolled me up my share.
Yeah.
And so I started. That was my first joint. I'd have been maybe 17. I'd probably started smoking cigarettes around the same time. So and that was to impress a woman. The best reason in the world, love.
Yeah.
That started it, and I guess I was already unwell. I didn't really know how to take care of myself. I didn't have any direction. I felt quite lost. And so the feeling that gave me was just that buzz, the demon lover. That buzz was my primary relationship then. That feeling started to replace everything else. And so, that just escalated. I didn't really like drinking. In fact, I didn't really drink much at all. But when I did drink, I drink dangerously. So I would drink, half to 2/3 of a bottle of whiskey in 45 to 50 minutes, and not knowing that how lethal that could be. And then that would be mixed with whatever pills that someone would give me or I'd find. And so very dangerous, I'd say. But I only really had a very short journey with drugs and alcohol, by the age of 21, when my mum said, you've got to leave. I had got to a place where I didn't know. I'd maybe had a bath or a shower maybe twice that year previous. I still had a girlfriend. To this day, I just go, wow, how she managed that, who knows? Because shoes, kung fu slippers were really big then. They would rot off my feet. I had school sores, and my fingernails were getting soft, and they just started to fall off. And what I didn't know at the time and found out later was that modi, that part of me that glues my wairua to my tinana, was unwinding. It was getting weaker and weaker, and the symptoms of that were starting to show in my body. That's what I learnt later. And then that was confirmed by a doctor who said, look, if you didn't come in to see me, this was after I'd seen that woman who had been 8 years clean from heroin, you had about 4 months to live max. Because I had pneumonia and just didn't know. I didn't know I was dying.
Wow.
Didn't know I was dying. I would cough up blood. I'd sweat so much I'd have to turn the mattress over. And then, the best solution in the world was to get up in the morning and sit out there and have a joint and have a cigarette and cough up more blood. Like I just had it was like a child, very much like a child.
Yeah.
And in a 21-year-old body with the coping skills of about a 4-year-old. Yeah.
When did you realize that, oh my God, it is time to actually put my big boy pants on and start to change some of those habits?
Yep. That would have occurred in that moment.
Yeah.
Everything occurred in that moment. I just knew everything was going to change. So, and that I was going to be on the right path. So that one event was my defining moment.
Oh, wow.
And, I probably, they talk about rock bottoms. I just think you can always dig deeper.
Yeah.
I don't even, not really sure about the concept of rock bottom other than, I think I could. I'm just grateful that my mother started my recovery by letting me go.
Yeah.
She did something really hard to do. And that was to know that she'd even said it. She said, it was like she did a step 1. I'm powerless over my son, and I need to tell him that. And my life's unmanageable with him living under the house, in the house. So she let me go. And her doing that freed that energetic relationship that she and I had. She severed that to look after herself. and, paradoxically to look after me, not that she knew that at the time.
Yeah.
And that allowed for universal forces and maybe something inside me. The word karanga, ka means to ignite and ranga means to weave and set in motion. And I think something inside me there was a karanga that maybe I'd sent out for something more that I wasn't really aware of. But yeah, just really grateful for the right people at the right time, and that in that moment, that such a profound shift had taken place. So I know that change can occur a few ways. One's incrementally over time, as a lot of my changes have been, most of them. But there's also these big defining moments that are really profound. And I did some research. They sort of call them quantum leaps, and they're more common than people think, actually. But yeah, so that would be where I got to put my big boy pants on, was in that moment. I knew that everything was going to change.
Oh, incredible.
Yeah.
And so after that, you stepped into treatment.
Yes.
Is that right?
Yep.
What was that like for you?
Oh, I loved it. I loved treatment because I just knew I was in the right place. It was so interesting though. This is the 1980s.
Yeah.
So 4 of us had entered the treatment centre that day or that evening. And so the next day was our introduction to the house. And, I work as a counsellor now, so I get to sort of see the difference in how things are now to how they used to be. And you're asked, what brings you here? And I said, I feel like I've been led here. And a woman, I won't disclose her name, she lives in Australia now. She was the old way of becoming a counsellor in the 1980s was you went through treatment, you became a volunteer and a counsellor by default. That was sort of how it was. So there was no training. That was just how it was. And her answer to me, I feel I've been led. You're here because you're a fucking addict. That was the very first words I ever heard out of a counsellor's mouth. Yeah. Was that. Things have changed, I'm hoping. Yeah. But that was and I was shocked. I mean, I knew I was, but yeah, that was my introduction to treatment. But I loved it, really loved it, that I had people around that understood me, that I just knew I was in the right place. And, my dad came down for family week, which was really cool. My mum didn't. She said, I need you to you haven't earned that trust back yet. I don't want to invest more energy in you just yet. And yeah, that was tough. However, I sort of understood why she was doing that at the time. So treatment, there was a lot of solvent users back in those days. And I'd come from Gisborne to Plympton, which is on the Kapiti coast where Aspel House was. And so when I went back to Gisborne, they had the NSAD, the National Society of Alcoholism and Drug Dependence. I think it became Care New Zealand eventually. Okay. But they had a drop-in, like their offices were like a drop-in. That was my base. Yeah. And I still think that profound shift changed something vibrationally in me. Like Gisborne's not a big place. I saw none of those people that I used with in the 4 years that I was there before I left. Didn't see one person that I used with. Yeah. Because I just think my whole focus had shifted, and I used NSAD in that room as a real haven. And that probably got me interested in counselling a little bit, perhaps. There was just something about the safety of that space. And then my mate coming out of treatment and beginning an NA meeting and being a bit like Bill and Bob really for that first year, and just telling our story to each other and keeping each other clean. Yeah. But by the time I left, I think that meeting had about 12 people in it. Yeah, but it was cool at the beginning. Between us, we held all the service positions. I was GSR, so I got to travel around the central area and get to meet sort of the NA fellowship on the whole, and that was awesome.
And back then, I guess you guys wouldn't have had like phones and stuff. So how did you find out that there was meetings?
Oh my gosh. That's a really good point. How did we do that? Do you know what? There must have been
something, because you must have had to go and find
other
meetings.
Computers were out.
Okay.
Yeah, they were, because they came out in 1984, because I was at school when they came out. So computers were there. So I think from memory, they had, similar to what they had now, there was some sort of
Like
information
website. Yeah.
online that
Yeah.
you could access.
Oh, funny.
Yeah.
Just listening to you talk about your treatment journey
Yeah.
as well. How long did that last for? Like, how long was treatment back then for you? And you know, you said that there was about 4 people that entered the same evening as you. How many people were there the next day when you were fully in there?
So I went to detox. So I went to Ward 11, the psych ward, and I was just so stoked. I had pajamas, I had 3 meals, I had a pool table, I had cigarettes. I was just in heaven. And, and then went to treatment. 4 of us arrived. I think the program was 10 weeks.
Oh, cool.
And I think there were about 25 to 30 in the house.
Nice.
I've still got photos, interestingly enough, of me in treatment, and it's so interesting looking back, and me in detox too.
Yeah.
So I'm glad I've got this record of that part of the journey. 10 weeks. It was a therapeutic community. There was a woman, I can't remember her name now, but she was a counsellor there, and she was my counsellor. And as luck would have it, she moved to Gisborne. And so I was able to sort of get a bit of counselling, continue that with her for a little bit, I think. But I think, I'm just trying to think. So, we would have, there would be sort of therapy. The therapy back then was quite 12-step orientated. So the idea was you're to look at your triggers and to develop sort of safety plans, but it was also to start that process of step 4 and step 5 of that fearless moral inventory of looking at the shadows and starting to address that, so that through talking about it, you'd release the shame. I probably was so ill. I really didn't. I probably wasn't anywhere ready to be able to go to that depth. Yeah. Then I did counselling when I got to Auckland, probably 4 years later, I went to counselling for 2 years. And so I didn't do my step 4 and step 5 with a sponsor as the 12 steps would do it. I did mine through a counsellor, and very grateful for that. And after that 2 years, the shame had gone. The shame of that core wound that I had gone. So, and I'm grateful for that. So as I've been told, there's many ways into addiction, there's many ways out. Yeah. And so I'm a great proponent of it. As much as I love the 12 steps, it's not the only way. There's so many other ways. Yeah. In fact, most people don't even use treatment. Most people just make a decision one day and they just stop. Yeah.
And that's okay.
Yeah. And that's okay. And I wasn't one of those people, partly because I didn't have a lot of support. I didn't have any confidence that if I could start, I could stop. Although in saying that, this is once again that very first profound shift that I had. The going from a place of feeling lost to feeling like now I've got a direction, that energy gave me a huge drive, not so much confidence, but drive to keep going. Yeah. So I know that for people who just make that decision one day, they usually have a big defining moment like I had. They've usually got good support and they've usually got confidence. The people that I was in treatment with didn't have those 3 things line up. We might have had 1 or 2. Probably the biggest thing I noticed was the relationships that they had been destroyed, and they lacked confidence. They'd tried, one of the symptoms of addiction is repeated unsuccessful attempts to control or stop your use, and it knocks confidence. So most of the people there had tried many times and just low in confidence. So part of treatment is to build confidence a bit.
While you were in treatment, what do you think the biggest thing you learned about yourself was?
Wow, this is really tough. Gosh. It's so long ago. What did I learn about me? I think I learned that I could claim the identity of being an addict and know that that just didn't mean being an addict, that it meant that I was someone on the wounded healer journey, and that that's what I learned too. I suppose that I could start to generate my own emotional space. I didn't need anything else to do that for me. I think that started to grow more and more. And just the value and I suppose the realization of how much I needed people. Yeah. And that I couldn't do this on my own. I think those would be the biggest take homes back then from memory.
Oh, cool. Yeah. You spoke a little bit before about how in your moment you all of a sudden got this drive, and I loved your sort of analogy about the drive. I'd love to know a little bit more about the drive though, and where did that drive sort of end up taking you, my friend?
Well, over the years it's taken me, like a sort of a brief synopsis was I moved to Auckland and did a BA in psychology and anthropology, managed to go and went to the United States and studied over there in my final year. Found out they did, Massey University did this exchange program. And so loved that. And that was the time that I relapsed. It was just after that study that I relapsed. I went to the UK and, they talk about that idea of that, what do they call it? The illusion of control. So I would say that for about the first, when I picked up again in the States, for maybe the first month and a half, I think I had felt like I had some semblance of control of my of my cannabis use. And however, after that, I could feel that need that, one's to, what do they say? The man takes the drug, then the drug takes the drug, then the drug takes the man. That last part occurred, and I could feel once again that buzz that I was feeling was more important than the relationships that were around me. And so, I could feel my world getting very small again. And then I had another one of those interesting, profound moments. My mother had given me, she's been a very spiritual woman, my mother, and she gave me a set of Native American medicine cards. And I carried these things everywhere I went because they were my direction. It was like if I really didn't know what my heart and my head was saying, it was sort of a way of me talking to God was through these cards. I'd pull a card and I'd get a focus and it would give me some sense of direction. So I'd been painting. I got a job as a painter and I'd left this work and I lost the bag in the London tube, and that horrible awareness of because the first thing that popped in my head was those cards. I've lost these cards that were so precious to me. And then the next thought was, you've lost your direction. And it was like the higher power just tapping my shoulder going, you have another one of those moments to choose. So I came back to New Zealand. Once again, still hadn't quite finished. I got stoned once more with a friend, and who I thought would be sort of accepting. And I guess I don't get to see myself when I'm stoned and how I change. And she just said, because she had known me straight when we were studying, and she said, I don't really like the person you become when you're stoned. And that really really rocked me. Yeah. And it was like, that was the final, I need to return back into recovery. Actually, I've forgotten about that story, but yeah, that was another one of those profound, these little moments that had a profound effect. Yeah. And so, so I came back into recovery at that point. This is God's sense of humor. A job was going at the Salvation Army Bridge program as an alcohol and drug counsellor. I was 2 weeks clean. I lied to get that job. I said I'd been 9.5 years in recovery. Yeah. So it was I'll present you the image that's not quite the truth, but it sounds good. And so, look, I got the job. That job, once again, because gave me a sense of purpose. Yeah. You're working with people who were brand new and were like those windows, I don't want to go back there. So that kept me clean. I wouldn't say I was particularly well in I hadn't engaged back with the program to have that doing that daily conscious reflection of where am I, how am I walking my walk?
Yeah.
Am I congruent with myself? The values that I say I hold, am I actually living those? And I wasn't actually. I had this idea that, how would I put it? I would have told you I was honest, However, my need to feel special, my need to avoid failure, meant that I would do that. I'd lie by omission. So I wasn't very congruent in myself. And I think if I had have got tuned back into the program, maybe some of those issues would have been dealt with a bit earlier.
Yeah. You spoke a little bit about a sense of purpose before, and that's really interesting.
Yeah.
You're probably a really good person to ask on this platform how important for people out there that are struggling is a sense of purpose underneath, I guess, someone struggling with addiction.
For me, that was huge.
Yeah.
And sense of purpose can come in different ways. One, my sense of purpose initially, actually asked that question. My sense of purpose when I first got to treatment was to get to know who I was. My sense of purpose when I went as a counsellor was to have some sense of meaningful work that somehow, because I would have been, how old would I have been? I would have been in my 30s, so that, the idea of what legacy am I going to leave, this starts to become more important.
Yeah.
And so having a purpose that felt aligned, that I enjoyed, that seemed to be handed to me on a plate, but very important. And there's two different sorts of purpose for me. One was purpose that comes in relationship to others. So I became a father maybe 2002, so 4 years after I'd got that job, I became a father. So the purpose of being a dad and a stepdad was huge, and I loved that. But my work, that was my relationship to me, and that sense of purpose of this is something that no one can take away from me in a particular way, because it's not based on any relationship with anyone else. This is just my relationship to my Modi, to giving expression to the essence of who I am. And I think, so for me, it's been massively important.
Yeah.
And I think I find it hard to imagine, not that people can't be in recovery, but that they would have a sense of happiness and a sense of fullness and their heart feeling full where they're having some sense of purpose. Yeah. And if the purpose is just getting to know who you are and being the best person you can be, that's enough in itself.
Yeah. Incredible.
Yeah.
Everyone that comes on to this podcast to share their journey, I've been asking them to bring a important quote or saying with them. And I did, I asked you as well. I just thought that this is actually quite a nice moment
Lovely.
to maybe bring that to the space. I'd love for you to share yours.
And I was saying earlier, one's never enough. So I think I've got 5.
Yeah.
So I'm going to just give them all because I have to remember them from my phone. One is, you spot it, you got it. So whether you're looking at something positive about somebody or something not, they are a mirror for who you are. And I've learned over the years to look at the good. I was very good at looking at the negative until a sponsor said you need to find a character asset list rather than a character defect list. So you spot it, you got it. Today for me has a very positive element to it. That I actually got prepared for this was pretty amazing.
You're all over it.
That was, which speaks something to the Modi maybe that you put into this. Like, that's often I might not do that, but there was something about being here and the intentionality with the questions that you had asked and the depth to which they go. There's mana in those questions that you asked. So I think it was a response to the curiosity and mana that you sit with in creating the space for people to tell their stories. So probably a big credit goes to you actually.
Thank you, T.
In that. So here we are. Oh, here we are. Okay. Here we go. So my first quote comes from Khalil Gibran and the book The Prophet. And they always talk about the group of drunks and the good orderly direction. So that quote goes, say not God is in your heart, rather you sit in the heart of God. And if the meetings and the rooms where the group of drunken drug addicts in the good orderly direction that they gave, then I sat in the heart of God. And so many times, as you would know, you hear what you need to hear. And the timing of it's always amazing. So that was one. Oh, the one you spotted, you got it. Which wolf am I feeding?
Good one.
Now, the people know that story about the two wolves and, which wolf is going to win the fight, and it's the one you feed. And I'm a big law of attraction person, and that just so matches that simple indigenous story about the battle of those two wolves and fits very well with my sense of the law of attraction. And I choose my thoughts a bit more carefully these days.
Yeah.
The first thought we have is often automatic, but you get to choose the second one when you're conscious of that you get to choose that. So that's for me means that I feed the wolf of positivity these days, and I've been amazed at what that generates. That's just phenomenal. This comes from my grandfather. It's hard to get a good reputation and it's easy to lose it. It's easy to get a bad reputation and it's hard to lose it. That quote has stopped me from making some dumb decisions because I am really mindful, a bit like that saying, kaore he kumare kōrero ana ki tana reka. The kumara doesn't speak of its own sweetness, but other people do. So I'd been concerned enough about image to that really stood there and has helped, been one of those interrupting thoughts of, do you really want to do that? So that's been helpful. This one here, this is garbo mate, and I probably haven't got it properly, but this is the process of recovery in a sentence. Find your truth, believe in your truth, don't be afraid of your truth, deepen your truth, and be okay to let your truth go when a deeper truth speaks to you. And for me, that's, if I was to give one statement of my journey, that's it. The continually letting go of what I thought was the deeper truth because something else is deeper underneath that. So thanks, Agabo. That was very cool. And the last one is my mantra for this year, which was reach out and the world will reach back. And so each year I meditate, and usually there's I have two or three mantras that come and they become my sense of guidance for the year. But I've got screeds more, but those are 5 important ones.
No, thank you.
Yeah.
I ask people to come and share those quotes because more often than not, they are like what you've just said. They just hit the nail on the head, like all of them. Yeah.
There's a saying that goes, iti te kupu, nui te kōrero, small is the word, but big is the meaning, or profound is the meaning. And I that's a smart question. There was a woman called Nada Glavich, and she said, the answer's not in the answer, rather the quality of question asked, and you ask quality questions.
Thank you, my friend. You just actually quickly touched on something that I might just pick your brain about. You said a little thing about meditation, that you do meditate. How has that experience been for you? Is that something that you were introduced to way back or something you've just started recently? I
would say I knew about it. I was an intermittent meditator, but not really got into it. But when I came back from Poland, it was the end of I'd come back from Poland, and I wasn't happy with who I was. I'd noticed that I'd had this real sharp edge to me, and wasn't happy with my behavior in that relationship, and that I would be, there would be a hard edge to my voice. I would be critical. I just wasn't happy. So I don't know what it was, but something just said, go and meditate. And so I found a meditation by Joe Dispenza. It's one of those guided meditations. And so for the past 2.5 years, probably, every morning, pretty much
Wow.
without fail. I've started to use some other ones, guided meditations now.
Yeah.
I am, just from that process, I'm a bit gentler, and there's a little bit more time between that instant reaction and, the restraint of tongue and pen before I say something. Not always, but it's got much, much better. And yeah, that consistent practice makes a really big difference.
Oh,
Yeah.
incredible.
Yeah. So step 11, prayer and meditation took took 25 years for me to decide meditation might be a good idea. So fairly slow learner in some respects.
But that's okay. You did what works, what's worked for you.
Totally.
And that's all good.
Totally.
Looking back at your journey and, you started your, I guess, counselling at the Salvation Army Bridge program. Where did that take you?
That took me to motivational interviewing.
Tell me a little bit about that.
And cunning question. I got to meet a woman called Terry Moyers, who's a researcher. She came to the Bridge program and she got us to do a couple of exercises, one a value card sort and another couple of scaling questions. And we had to bring a real issue. And I used to smoke cigarettes.
Yeah.
And my son was born that year that, I think she came out. Yeah, she came out the year that my son was born. So it would have been 2002. And through that, the commitment to stop smoking increased, and eventually I stopped a year after my son was born. But I was really sold on motivational interviewing, and so I just read about it, and then found there weren't really many workshops that you could do in New Zealand, but I found a guy called Joel Porter who decided that he also wanted to give some voice to Māori and Pacific Island. Yeah. So he did this non-endorsed, Mint is the motivational interviewing network of trainers. So he did a training in New Zealand in 2010, and he mentored me. He just said, come around the country with me training. I think I'd like to sort of pass on this. And he just felt like, I think that I had not just the motivational interviewing, but there was the cultural body of knowledge. He could see probably more than I could. Yeah. That was going to be really helpful in the space. So we have when you become a trainer of trainers, you sign that contract. You sign with the commitment that you're going to give back more than you got. And he was the living example of somebody who didn't have to do that. He didn't have to take me around the country with him, but he did in a very loving way. He mentored me into being a trainer, and encouraged me also to build that cultural element to me. And that's around that time too, I started to get a job with the Māori service. So I was then amongst people who had a lot of knowledge that was the old knowledge. They were tohunga. I didn't really know this at the time. And so for a long time, they fed me this knowledge. And Joel could see this. He could see the value of this more than I probably could. So my journey of motivational interviewing started. And in 2010, did that. In 2013, went to Poland and did my formal train the trainers and became a trainer of trainers. And that led to my work as a counsellor starting to shift. Joel came to Auckland, and his goal with the District Health Board was to ensure that staff were proficient in MI. And then he left for Australia and he said, man, it's yours. So he gave me the mantle. So I asked my employers if they would change my job description so I could be half a trainer, half clinician, and they were really gracious and did that. So, once again, it was just me following the next thing that felt like the thing that made my heart sing. If I look back, I didn't necessarily go, I want to become a counsellor. I just fell into that job. However, I just did what, or I explored what interested me. And so MI interested me, then tikanga and mātauranga Māori and the depths of that interested me. And, I feel very blessed to be able to, in the words of our kaumātua, who knew nothing about motivational interviewing, but was a tohunga whakapapa, so he could literally look at people, and he would be able to go, I think your whānau's from there, and he'd be able to relate their whakapapa to them. He had that level of knowledge and familiarity. Anyway, I asked him how he saw MI and tikanga, and his words are really profound. He said, well, tikanga has its own whakapapa and has its own mana. I'm sure motivational interviewing has its own whakapapa and has its own mana, and just allow each to sit in their own mana.
Yeah.
And so his words have guided my trainings ever since, and just allow the mana and the influence of both an indigenous body of knowledge and a Western body of knowledge to, like the hulls in a double-hulled waka, that each has their own uniqueness and autonomy. And they call that part between them the papa, and they get to sort of communicate with each other and have this relationship. And I feel very blessed to be able to express the totality of who I am through my work. Yeah, so that's where it took me, is on this massive journey of integrating who I am as Māori and my sense of meaning and purpose in the world.
Yeah. You spoke a little bit about, motivational interview training. For someone that was interested in something like that, what would that look like for them?
There's a whole lot more now. I would say jump online and have a look at what courses are around, because there are some around, and if it feels like it makes your heart sing and you go, oh, there's something about this, then they're most welcome to contact me too. I part of my commitment to giving more than I got as I'm happy to mentor people, and there's often no charge, particularly if they want their work coded, because it's the only way to get proficient is to do a sample and get some feedback. So I do that free of charge. It's my koha back. I mean, look, I've had people, before even the 3rd edition came out, a year before, one of the women Terry, who had come out, she gave me the PowerPoint of the book. This is before the book was even on the shelf, and said, go train it. And then another woman, Denise, gave me all her materials about this training tool called the Mighty, and it's an evaluation tool. And I'd gone to Australia saying, hey, look, I sort of want to learn the Mighty, but I'm also got this job where I sort of need to know how to train it as well. Would you be okay if I hold both hats in this training? And not only she said yes, but she gave me all her materials, all of her training materials.
That's so cool.
It is. And, that sort of generosity.
Yeah. Yeah,
in the way it's like the fellowship, that sense of service and generosity exists in that community too. And I love that community. That's my another little community that I feel very passionate about and I belong to, and I'd be more than happy to talk to anyone who's interested in MI and happy to mentor and take them on that journey, and they could become a trainer like myself. There's so few of us around. Yeah.
No, that's awesome. Oh, thank you for that little heads up. And I'm sure if anyone is listening to that, that's 100%. As we were just talking, I was reflecting a little bit about your journey, and you have been sober now quite a significant amount of time in your recovery and everything in between. You spoke earlier on in the episode about how your dad came and visited you in treatment, but your mum didn't. I wanted to know now, how is whānau involved in your life now? How's your relationships come, I guess, that makes sense?
It does. I would say my dad's still alive. My mum passed in 2016. But after that trust was built back with my mum, I was very close to her. She and I are very, very similar. And she's one of these people, she's like the psychologist. She was a Catholic, then she left the church and decided to follow the Sufi path, which just sort of means the way or path. And she was interested in this thing called the Enneagram, which is once again an old tradition that came from the Sufi tradition that's sort of like a personality typing. And she was a tohunga on that. Her and my auntie talked about that every day for 45 years. So I sort of, by osmosis, that was also part of my journey in recovery, was through the Enneagram and getting to know who I was. And so that really bonded my relationship with my mum a lot. And with my dad, he and I had I think we just struggled to get each other a little bit. And I got great love for my dad. He's a brilliant storyteller, and I am amazed at what that man has. He's got such a green finger. His ability to to be the gardener. He's a man who is so talented at whatever he puts his hand in. Was the manager of a bank, burnt out at that, decides to come back to Gisborne, became the sexton of the cemetery, dug 6,000 graves, and those graves were like somebody had taken a cookie cutter and gone bang. They were so perfect.
Yeah.
Because he just took great pride in what he does. So I feel like I've inherited some of that from him, and inherited the enthusiasm for archaic bodies of knowledge and how they fit through my mum. So great love for them. I would say when you're looking at whānau being the people you gather in life that mean something to you and you feel like a mutual sense of belonging. Today it is people in the fellowship. It's my MI community, and my son, and I've got two whāngai kids as well. My boy's about to turn 23. My whāngai kids are 32 and 27. I got 5 moko. I really only know the 2 oldest because my boys' mum and I split some years back. So, however, those relationships in my life are probably, that's my family. I think today. And now in the training space and being self-employed, what I'm noticing is it's widening out to the family of people who, and you'll find out now that you're taking this journey of study too. There's the recovery community, and then there's the recovery community who, with lived experience, have now become counsellors community. And you'll be part of that community. Yeah. And that's a very small community in New Zealand, but a really loving community too.
Yeah.
So stoked that you'll be part of that community as well.
Oh, thank you, T. Oh, incredible. I also have another question in relation to, I guess, what you've all just been talking about. With all of your knowledge and your time up and everything today, what does the term addiction mean to you?
I don't see it as a disease. I think that disease concept is, although AA subscribes to it, I actually like the DSM version of this, the criteria of tolerance and what's the other one? That the same amount of, you need more and more to get the same effect, and that when you stop, there's some form of withdrawal symptoms and coping, using to cope with that, and things like the repeated unsuccessful attempts to stop, that it starts to consume more and more of your time and energy, and becomes the dominant relationship in your life that you continue using, knowing it's creating a havoc in your life and making the short-term positive more, or feeling more important than the long-term effects. That it has an impact on those important areas of like liver, lover, livelihood, and law. And once again, despite that, you're still continuing to use. And some of I can't remember the other ones, but those, when I learnt about those in my studies, they just made a lot of sense to me. And I think addiction is physiological. And yet I would say for some, and this might be a bit contentious for some, although the evidence base says that it is, abstinence is the way to go for people with a diagnosis. I do know people who, and a number of them, who, after they went and dealt with their childhood trauma, they started to use again. They didn't use the drug of choice. None of them picked up the drug of choice that was their most loved. Most of them started drinking, but they were people who were heroin users, for example.
Yeah.
And there's a number of people in my life who have left the rooms. They seem to be social drinkers. And so I think for some, there's a process of deciding where addiction fits in their life. And for some, that might lead to a relapse like it did for me, and that wasn't going to be good. And yet for others, that they seem to be able to do that. So I don't want to say that there's just one road in, one road out. But addiction, probably a bit like Garble says too, but what does he say? Not everyone with trauma develops an addiction, but pretty much everyone with an addiction will have trauma.
Yeah, it's fascinating.
Yeah. And I sort of think it is really related to that a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Are you a bit of a Garble fan?
Yeah. Yes, I've read his book, In the Realm of Hungry Ghosts, and saw him when he came here.
I did too. It was fantastic, eh?
If I'm as energetic as that at 83, I'll be just stoked. Yeah.
I loved it, eh?
Yeah.
You spoke a little bit about the disease concept around addiction, and you also brought in some scientific things that you learned through study.
Yeah.
What was it that changed your mind a little bit around that concept of addiction being a disease? Like, do you still have some sort of inkling to believe that that is the case, or have you sort of just shut?
No, I really feel like the concept of that I don't subscribe to it anymore.
Yeah.
Probably Te Ao Māori. My knowledge also has grown of who I am from a Māori perspective. That's shifted everything. So, the idea, gosh, yeah. It's just changed drastically, and I think that I have the belief that people can heal themselves at a cellular level. Yeah, and my tupuna knew that, and it's interesting watching where things like the law of attraction, like some of the bodies of knowledge around dealing with trauma, it's now maybe not go through the hinengaro in the mind, but healing comes through the body as well. So I think I subscribe more in that. However, for what that means to me today in terms of addiction, it means that I don't pick up a drink or a drug.
Yeah.
Because I've done that once, and it's not that I fear. I'm afraid that I'm going to lose control. I just don't want to. I just love the fact that I don't need it. That I can take myself on astral journeys and into the realms of different consciousness without any of that stuff. And that buzzes me out totally.
That's a really cool way. I think when I stepped into recovery, I came to the realization how precious life is, and how that I can, without any substance in me, be able to enjoy it the way that it is. And it's really cool. I just loved that little bit that you said. That's really awesome.
It's nice that you hold that too.
Yeah. I want to ask you a little bit about yourself again. If you had the opportunity to sit in front of the young 10-year-old Tipene, what would that conversation look like?
I've had a son too, so this was when I first started to answer this question. It was like I was talking to my son. I probably wouldn't say anything. I would pick him up and let him know that he's important. We might not say anything, but he'd know he mattered. And that's, because it wasn't words for the 10-year-old. There's nothing I could tell him. Once again, this is another quote that comes from and probably with the journey with my son. Khalil Gibran said, don't give children your thoughts, for they have their own thoughts, and they dwell in the land of tomorrow, and it's a land that you cannot visit, even in your dreams. And I understand what that means. And my boy will surpass me in every possible way, because that's the nature of kids is they will go beyond their parents. And I think, if I was talking to little 10-year-old me, I'd want to let him know that he's loved, that he matters, that that he's worthwhile, that he's worth my attention, he's worth my direction and time. And however that manifested, whether that was he and I going for walking in the garden, telling stories to each other, it would be to let him know that he mattered. Yeah.
What do you believe the greatest gift your recovery has given to you?
This is such a tough one. I was looking at this going, holy moly. Okay. This just pops into my head. It was a gateway to the introduction to many other bodies of knowledge that have become really profound for me, like the law of attraction, like the body of knowledge that I've learned through Te Ao Māori and through whakapapa, and how amazing and cohesive we saw the world and its relationship between the physical and the non-physical. So if anything that recovery's given me, it's to have been a doorway to that sort of knowledge too, that deepened, a bit like Gabor Mati was saying, the deeper truths would keep coming, and recovery and the 12 steps had a deep truth to it, and there's some others that have a deeper truth for me. And that I particularly, I guess a lot of that's the law of attraction, because my ancestors and the way they saw the world is really similar to that.
You've spoken a lot about the law of attraction, and if there was someone out there listening to this thinking, oh my God, what does he mean about the law of attraction? How would you explain that to someone?
It's the story of the two wolves. So the two wolves having a fight, and this this Cherokee, I think it was Cherokee, was talking to his grandson and talking about these two wolves fighting, and one's the wolf of envy and greed and thoughts of hate and frustration and all of those feelings that are hard. And the other wolf was the wolf of love and peace and serenity and kindness and feelings and joy and those feelings that are up. And he asked the boy, which wolf wins the fight, and because they're fighting, and the answer being it's the wolf you feed. That's the law. That is the law of attraction. The knowledge that you are the physical part of you is a tiny part of the I want to put it, the non-physical part, and that for me the way I put it is my language when they talk about alignment. My language of God talking to me, or that universe or whatever it is my emotions. If I'm feeling good, if I'm feeling like I am now, feeling really content, feeling happy, got a sense of purpose, that I'm in alignment. My feelings are my barometer for being in alignment with that power that I don't understand. But boy, do I see how quick things manifest in my life when I'm feeling good. Those people roll into place, people, places, things, they all roll into place, and they generate more of that feeling. In the same way, if I choose a thought of frustration, it'll just generate more of that. And so to people that would be, choose your thoughts, that first thought's automatic, that second thought, pause on it. And what did she used to say? What's her name? That woman, she passed away. I can't remember her name. She'd say, pause, pray, proceed. So take time to choose that second thought.
That's interesting. That just nearly clicks onto my next question for you as well. And it's like, when that dark wolf is being fed and you are feeling down and, those emotions are sort of coming through, because the reality of it is that we are human, and we have our days. What does your toolbox look like on those sort of days? What helps you get yourself out of that muck and back onto feeding that that white wolf again, and that that wolf, that angelic wolf? I suppose I've had that recently. So I did it of somebody I love very deeply, because we just are at different stages, and so
when I was feeling heavy like that, my toolbox looks a bit like this. One is meditation, is because it means that I have to focus, my particular meditation focuses on my body, so I have to direct my attention towards that. The more time I do that, that heaviness will leave. In that 20 minutes, it's gone. Gratitude lists. I now text my sponsor. I've only started doing this just maybe a week or so ago. I text him a gratitude list during the day, and just that focusing on what I have in my life. The definition of gratitude I like is wanting what you have rather than having what you want. And when you want what you have, you get what you want. So that's part of it. I do my best to focus on, even if I'm feeling really low or really shitty, choosing the thought that feels just a little bit less shitty, so that I'm starting to move up that. And that usually is focusing on gratitude. What is it in my life? And I do this many times during the day if I'm in this space. I will think about my son. I will think about the people, the important relationships around me, that give me that thought that feels a little bit better. Mm-hmm. Work's really important. It gives me a focus. If I start to work, then all of the momentum of that heaviness goes, and it happens really quickly. And when it comes back, which it might do 2 or 3 or several times a day, I'll talk to someone. It'll be one of those things. One of those would be, or a combination of those will generally take me out. Mm. Something to focus my attention away from that heavy feeling. It's not, I don't need to go and sit with it and sort of let it pass. I can do that at times, but I've found it more useful for me to shift my attention. Is much more useful. Yep.
Nice. Do you still go and do things like counselling and stuff? Is that still a part of your life today, even though you are a counsellor yourself? Do you look after yourself by going and seeing a specialist?
Yep.
Yeah.
Last time I went to counsellor would have been when I was in Poland. Nice. And I was struggling with that relationship. I was not happy with how I was. And so I did a bit of reparenting. I got a hold of a counsellor back here, and so when I need that, definitely.
Yeah. Oh, amazing. And with, I guess, everything that you know and everything that we've talked about, this is where my head's been going. If there's anyone out there that is struggling with substance abuse or addiction and they don't know where to go or where to look, what would you tell them?
This is making the assumption that they are looking. So not somebody that's maybe, actually it wouldn't matter whether they feel sort of pressure from someone else or just desire from the inside. But what I suppose, the Auntie Google, is probably the first place. Yep. And I'd probably say because it's something that tends to isolate you, then I'd find a meetings list. I'd go to one of those, find someone to connect with. Yeah.
What would you say to someone who was sitting there and, I guess for me, if I didn't know what I do now and someone said, go and find a meetings list, and I think I would just sit there and be like, oh, what would you say to that person?
Oh, look, I'd say, I'll take you.
Nice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's a good point. Yeah. I wouldn't. Yes. I would look. I'd absolutely say, hey, look, if you're interested, just emphasize their autonomy to decide whether they want to come, and if they are, then say, look, come along and see what you think.
Oh my God, T, no, you've definitely hit the nail bang on the head there, As we start to wrap up this interview, I just want to say a massive, massive thank you for coming on and sharing a little bit of your journey, sharing your highs, sharing your lows and everything in between. Your quotes, I think I will hold on to those ones as well. They were incredible. I want to give you the floor one last time to say anything that you would like to, and also add in any details if you want to, for people if they want to reach out to you for motivational interviewing. The floor is yours.
Oh, okay. So Oh, is there anything I want to wrap up with? I just think it's been a real privilege. Ngā mihi atu ki a koe. I te tuahine pai I o mahi ki te whakanui te mana o ngā tangata I a rātou huarahi I kāti te mahi waipiro me taru pia. I tino te mea atu ki a koe. So really just a big acknowledgement for you for creating a space for people like me who have, I guess what I said in Māori there was to acknowledge the mana that you sit with, that the influence that this will have will be like a stone in the pond. It'll have maybe big ripples and maybe greater than you even think might even happen. And I think got a sense that it'll make a difference, and particularly for people who and being able to share my story, you keep what you have by giving it away. And in the same way that other people's stories have inspired me, that if my story resonates with you, you can find me on Auntie Google, just type my name in Tipene Pickett, or if you're interested in the motivational interviewing, Kōtuku Training and Counselling is the name of the company that's my company, and all of that information's on there, and just send me a message and I'd be more than happy to, in whatever capacity, be of service. Yeah. So that's probably about it, really. Yeah, I don't know if I have anything else to say.
No, thank you again. You've been absolutely incredible, and I am nearly positive, this will reach the people that it needs to reach. So thank you, T.
You're so welcome. Find your truth. Believe in your truth. Don't be afraid of your truth. Deepen your truth. And be okay to let your truth go when a deeper truth speaks to you.